Hey, good morning, everybody. Hi, Manish. How are you doing?
Very good. Good morning to you. How are you, Ajit?
Absolutely good, my friend. So we are on episode number 13 of Pureblu Spotlight. That's a long way
Yes,
we've
it
come,
is.
Manish.
Yes, it
Awesome.
is. We have reached beyond 1 year. So who would have thought a year ago we would still be doing this once a month? And yeah, it's been great actually. Can't complain.
All right. So for all the viewers who are joining us for the first time, first of all, thank you for writing to us and asking us so many questions around it. It kind of also gives us the topics that we should be coming up with. So welcome back to episode number 13 of Pureblu Spotlight. For those who are joining us for the first time, Manish and me are the founders of Pureblu. And Spotlight is a 30-minute session held every month where we would like to share our thoughts on the three guiding pillars at Pureblu called as RAP. That's reliability, accountability, and productivity. So at Pureblu, we have two product lines, which is our SaaS platform, which is an easy-to-use software for air conditioning service providers to manage their customers' field resources, the trouble tickets, and the life cycle of the air conditioning and refrigeration systems. Our second product line is the Smart AMC, where multi city, multi location, all kinds of brands of air conditioning systems are managed as a one stop solution under annual maintenance contracts, which also gives you an IoT device free of cost, a small smart meter. This device sends you daily reports on your energy consumption. And you must know that 70% of your energy consumption, residential or commercial, comes from air cons. And a well maintained air conditioning system can save up to 20% of their energy consumption. Now, please remember, we are an aggregated services. So, all these services of air conditioners, which are given to most of our large customers across the country, is actually managed by our service partners who is using the PureBlue platform. And that's how we've been able to give a one-stop solution. So today, based on the feedback, Manish, what's our topic today?
So today we're going to talk about the ideal service structure for air conditioning. And so, one of the things, when we, kind of came together around Pure Blue to, look at this, platform and how to build it. I was of course more focused on the service, on the technology side, and you were more on the services side. So that's one of the great things is you've got a very deep insight coming from the background of the industry. So tell me, when you look at how does the industry operate and what are some of the challenges they face? That's kind of what today's topic is about. Is we always talk about the technology side and what Pure Blue does, but I think a lot of times we kind of forget the reason why we've kind of come together for Pure Blue, and that is to fix some of the challenges. And I think that's what today's topic is around services and what can we do to make it better.
So let me share some of my experience. I've been in this industry now for about close to 25 years, and services has been a very important component of the business. Now, honestly, I'm talking about it's a very unorganized industry, right? And there are a lot of small players who do this business. Now, let's take some of the best service providers. I'm not even talking about the people who are just don't not good at their work, but there are quite a few people who are good at their work. So how do they actually? They have a set matrix in what they believe is a structure for good service. Now, here's very simple. I need to have a friendly person. I need to have a good guy at the back end who can receive the calls. He or she needs to allocate it, what we call as coordinators, internationally known as like kind of dispatchers, but coordinators is what we call them in our industry. And then they receive the call, so it's a friendly call, customer feels comfortable, then that coordinator identifies the machine, the cost around it, the some data work which is being done. So they have some data management software. Then they allocate it to a technician, ensure the work is done at the earliest, and that's enough. It's the people centric and a data management software that can take care of service. That's how some of the best guys actually do it. Now, I believe that's completely outdated. You cannot approach the services using that simple mechanism anymore. It is designed to fail for simple reasons. Because, it's like how you and me talk, when the Americans have a problem, they throw money at it. And you know what Indians we do? We throw people at it. Every time we have a big problem, we just want to
Yep.
throw people at it. And when you throw people at these problems, the only challenge that you have is your cost increases. So every time your business keeps growing up, your processes start breaking, and your cost starts increasing. And this is not a high profit business, it's a high volume game business. You can do crores and crores worth of services, but you can't keep increasing your costs proportionally. And when that happens in a small business, the business owner is the first escalation point, and then that's where all chaos happens. So even the best of service guys are going to struggle with the current process of actually just putting people in getting the whole thing done. And what is the customer wanting today? Understanding the customer requirement is extremely important. Today's customer gets everything on a few clicks on his phone, whether it's food, whether it is tickets, whether it is airline tickets, whether it's even a movie ticket, a taxi, everything. Why is it that he should not expect similar things from his air conditioning service provider? And I'll tell you why. Because this is no more a luxury. It's a kind of it's more related to productivity now. Owning an air conditioner is no big deal. Yeah? You need it. You need it to have a good sleep. You need it. People use it during the day. Offices, it's constantly running. In B2B customers or in commercial applications, if the air conditioner fails, it affects your business directly. And 70% of your energy bills comes from air conditioning systems. The challenge the industry faces in realizing this change, what the customer is asking for, and it has to move towards an aggregated ecosystem that retains the customer, brings efficiency, and increases productivity. And 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 remember, in this business, services is a game changer, because if you are able to give services and you are able to retain your customer, every 10 years he is going to be a repeat purchase. You can keep him in the life, through the entire life cycle of your business. And referrals, very strong referrals you can get from this. And this is what the big change that is going to come in services, which people need to understand. And that's the big challenge I feel in this entire ecosystem, which is coming, especially in an industry that is expected to grow phenomenally 8 times in the next 2 decades.
Right.
I don't think we have an infrastructure.
True. No, I think you're right. It's a really good point where you say that we tend to throw people at the problem. The problem is, to manage one person, two people, three people is okay, but now when you have an army of people, what do you do? So I think that's one of the challenges that they say is the service business is not scalable. So what are some of the big changes you see that are coming into services to allow us to scale? Because the reality is you still have that, still need that people touch, that person touch coming to visit. So there must be some ideas that you have that you feel that can be addressed with people, but also how do we scale it as well?
So in this current brick and mortar style, the services business is not scalable. You got to take it the way it is. It's just not scalable because it is completely person dependent. How much of a process you might have at the back end, but there is no standard industry process which has been applied. So everyone defines it, and then you will see chaos happen. See, what happens is when when you're manufacturing a product, you lay a process. Every product that comes out is identical, completely identical. That doesn't happen with services. Even if your process is there is a human element to it. So how do you standardize quite a bit of it to make sure that almost 99% of the outcome is almost identical? So for that, the engagement has to come down, with the person dependency has to come down. Now today, every time your service business grows, like I told you, more and more people you keep adding to it, and that's where the problems start coming in. And that's when the scale up issues also start coming in. And you've got to change that from a perspective from building technology in putting aggregated services together. Machines are going to talk directly to you, and that's the way it's happening today. And the engagement of the people at the back end has to get minimized. And you need to keep your costs low, so reduce the number of people, but the people you have are the best skill sets and you can pay them very well, but reduce the number of people and increase the top line. So even if it's a low margin business, you can get great money, and you can also build a great business around it.
Sounds good. So this is kind of what you say are the challenges and what needs to get fixed. So how do you see Pureblu playing a role in enabling that in the services space and fixing some of these deficiencies that we see in the market?
So one of my biggest uh, mentally, I think the way I have analyzed the business, the number of service providers in this country will come down. That's what's going to happen, and that's how it's going to be.
Okay.
There will be a handful of people who will do great quality service, but they will be large service providers. They will be multi-city providers. They will be large service providers with large teams managing efficiently. And that's going to be the biggest change. Now, the point is, who are these guys going to be? What is the game changer? So these are the guys who are going to play the game much better. Who are going to be ahead of this game. And I guess that's what motivated me. And when we discussed about Pureblu and we built Pureblu. So the Pureblu is all built in keeping the future in mind. And quite a few service providers across India, today's customers, they've realized that the customers don't want to talk to anyone. They just don't want to talk to anyone. They say that, listen, I need the machines to be solved. I can't sit down and talk to someone, understand, give him the address, give him the location. It's like a Swiggy, right? I don't even talk to anybody and my food comes on the table. How do I get the similar experience? A flight ticket that is booked. It's so seamless. So it's exactly the same thing. In Pureblu, through a WhatsApp, you can actually just log the complaint. You don't have to talk to anybody. The system will identify the right skill set of the technician and will allocate the nearest guy to the job. And that's how it is. It's as simple as that. And from here on, we will get these machines to even talk directly to the platform, which means the machine will actually call for a technician when it has problems. And that's going to be the big. And see, from a customer's perspective, the customer is now got a delight. He says, it's so easy. Even in the night at 2 o'clock, if my call is on, I can always log in a complaint. Next day in the morning at 9:30, the guy is there at your door. And the technician is also happy because before he steps out of his house, he knows what his job is. He knows what his entire plan is. The system is planning everything for him. The backend team is not sitting and working like a receptionist or a inbound call manager, but is doing focused activity as to intervening only in escalation or where there is a problem. And from a customer's perspective, not only the ease of operation, it's everything is digitized. The guys who come in are certified. Like, for example, we have a marketplace which is coming up for spares. Now you can make sure that every spare that is used by a technician or a company that is using Pureblu will get original spares. So the customer knows now he gets certified spares and not some spurious thing that has been God knows from where. And training. How do you actually
Mhm.
train and certify technicians? So this platform will finally become a training model for them. So the whole ecosystem is getting digitized, and you're getting business out of this problem and out of this whole entire ecosystem. So this is going to be a game changer. And everyone, what we have realized over the last 3 years, I mean, we've seen the numbers. Everyone who's used Pureblu have increased their business 30%. And this has happened without increasing their costs. Proportionally, the costs have not gone up. And again, I keep saying it. You get customer retention. It is always better to do business with an existing customer rather than trying to acquire a new customer, because your existing customers are repeat purchases and they give you referrals, and that increases your business. If you've got allied businesses like retail or a projects or a contracting business, they are the lead base for you. And that's the way forward. You have to increase top line without proportionally increasing the cost. That way you have better paid staff, you have a lean, mean organization, and this can be only achieved through technology. And I guess we've been ahead of the game in making sure Pureblu is there providing that solution.
Nope, sounds good. You had mentioned, a customer can, use WhatsApp and, open a trouble ticket or complaint. So, but that's more at the consumer level, I feel. What are some of the challenges you think happen at the B2B player level? So large national chains. I can't imagine, you're managing hundreds of locations that you're actually going to use WhatsApp, or is that something that you're thinking about? So tell me, what are some of the challenges they face on the services front?
So let's take like a retail chain. It could be restaurants. Think about the ATMs, each of these banks, like they run into a few lakhs. and ATMs and all, if air conditioners falter, then you have a problem. The machine stops working. Or the cell towers. There's so many cell towers which have got cooling units. If that cooling system breaks, then the tower comes down. Retail shops, theaters. Think of all the company offices which have got branches across the country. Think of refrigeration. Tomato that is grown in the farm, look at the cold chain it moves to till it comes to the retail outlet. They're all different kinds of equipment. Any failure or any service support not given on time is straightforward loss. And they all depend on reliable services, air conditioning and refrigeration services. What is reliable? Understand when the problem happens, get a person who's trained, certified to come immediately and solve the problem, and make sure there are spares available around it, easily available, the right certified spares. They don't have it right now today. For example, a retail outlet which has got 400, 500 restaurants across the country today, in every city, he has to deal with different vendors. And I'll tell you why the problem comes. See, when a retail outlet started, they didn't put that 500 outlets together, retail outlets in one go. They started with 5, 10. So when they did the first 5, they chose a service provider, they chose an equipment. The next 5 which came in had a different service provider, had a different equipment. Now, there's nobody who provides standardized services for all of them. Now, if you also sign up with some of these large companies, first of all, these large companies directly don't provide any services. They have their service providers or service partners who are small, unorganized businesses. Then these companies will say that, listen, I can only take care of my machines. I can't take care of my competitor's machine. So all these customers today have a problem. Air conditioning is not their main core business. But if it fails, it has a direct impact on their business. And they need to build a team, like a facility management team, to manage their known core activity of the business. It's not their core business, but they need to have a team. And they don't have any knowledge about the life of the product, the energy consumption, what is happening. And that's been a big challenge. And that's one of the problems that we fixed by using Smart AMC. Smart AMC, a customer who's got 300 outlets just signs up with us. And there are quite a few customers, like 600 outlets, Metro Shoes. They've been very kind. Isprava, they've all signed up with us. We give them a device. Every day in the morning, they get an energy consumption of their outlet. They know how exactly it is moving. They get patterns as to how the energy consumption has changed. They get reliable services. And we've got all these service providers who've been using our platform, and we know how good they are, who's been managing these services. So one single stop, one dashboard to manage all their services across the country. And that's the game changer, not just in bringing in efficiency, but also cost saving. And I guess that's the way forward. That's how it's going to be. And that's how B2B customers, nobody has it. And that's where we get to move in first.
Okay, so you've mentioned game changers several times, but I think that is more from, I would say at a micro level, but at a macro level, let's say at a larger industry, what are some of the things that you see changing and could have actually potentially be a threat to the industry? That to me is more of things that are out of our hands, but those potentially could be game changers, but maybe in a good way and in a bad way. So tell me, what is your thought on the industry going forward, more from a strategic threat opportunity standpoint?
So one of the biggest things that happens is refrigerants. Now, if you know, the refrigerants are chlorofluorocarbons, which are there in every air conditioning system. And what happens to these fluorocarbons? They are ozone depleting substances. So if they actually are leaked out into the air, they destroy the atmosphere around us. And India is signatory to net zero. So we need to make sure that these refrigerants are not released into the atmosphere. So everybody wants to do, even the government of India, United Nations, everybody's got together and said that, hey, we need to cap this threat of refrigerants, because now one is a refrigerant leaking when you change a compressor. That's one point, or a leak that has been developed. But the machines are becoming so good that that ratio of those leaks are coming down. So that's not where the threat is. The life of a machine is 10 years, all right? After 10 years, or 12 years, or you stretch it to 15 years, you got to scrap that machine. What happens to that refrigerant in that machine? It runs into tons and tons of refrigerant. Now, all of this refrigerant is now being leaked into the atmosphere. So the UN and the government, everyone, they've all come together and said, hey, we need to do something. And what do? You throw money at it. You want to throw money at that problem. So they said that we'll pay you money, we'll get you, let's replace all these machines. Now here's the challenge. Nobody knows where's the machine. Nobody knows whom I have to pay the money. Nobody knows which machine has to be replaced when. And we have a huge ticking bomb where we say that we will end up destroying our atmosphere. So that's going to be a biggest bummer for this industry. And it's a concern for all of us that, you need to know where these machines are. It's like this, every polluting vehicle which is there in the city. Every 13 years that vehicle has to go out, and there is a regulation around it. And that, if it comes into our industry, which the government will be forced to, once that comes in, you will have a challenge with this industry. And I guess that's where we have a huge advantage, because we are already labeling, aging, working on the history of each and every machine that is connected to our platform. So at any given point of time, we can clearly say that, listen, this machine needs to be replaced, not just age-based, but even in terms of its breakdown. And we can play a huge role in actually helping in sustainability, in helping all the UN and the government initiatives in making sure that this refrigerant from these machines at the end of life cycle is not leaked into the atmosphere. And I think that's where we can be a big difference, and a technology platform can solve that issue. If it's not solved, this will come in the way of the growth of this industry.
Now, that's actually really interesting point. I'll tell you something. It's something very similar to what's happening in the EV space for automotive. Is everybody talks about the battery packs, things like that, but there are actually companies. In fact, I think the chief technology officer of Tesla left, and he's doing something around recycling the battery packs. So similar to how the air conditioning units, the refrigerants need to get recycled or decommissioned correctly, the same thing is happening with battery packs in cars. So of course you buy it. We're still, I think, in India, years away from actually having a car that's been around for 8 years, 10 years. But everyone needs to start thinking about that ahead of time, because like you said, we don't want all of a sudden to have this issue we are having right now with air conditioning, where we don't know where the refrigerants are, where the machines are, things like that. So it's a good point.
True.
So tell me, what is an ideal service business for air conditioning? Now that we've talked about some of the challenges and some of the dire consequences, what to you is an ideal way of actually moving forward?
So first is accepting this big change that the customer is asking. See how the world around you has changed. See how all the other services businesses have been transformed. Accept that from a service provider's perspective. Customers, they will continue to move up the scale. Their levels of experiences and things will keep happening, and they will keep choosing people who can provide that service. The industry, service providers need to relook at their approach. They need to completely digitize their process. You have to reduce your back-end staff, and even the field engineers, you have to keep it minimal. You can't just keep throwing people at that problem. Make sure the people at the back end, and see, the other thing is, in today's world, you can't keep pushing a guy to work like 12 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours. Those days are gone, yeah. People want to work for 8 hours, give them a work-life balance. That gives you better retention. Make sure that field technicians are paid well. Make sure their time is not wasted in traveling or in repeat complaints, which means they are qualified. Bring down the failures of the machine through intervention, which is predictive in nature, not just reactive as it is today. That is how a customer wow happens, and that's the recipe of growing the business in both top line and bottom line. It's important because if it goes right now, you can take it to a certain top line, and then you can get an X amount of bottom line around it. But the moment you start scaling up further, your bottom line starts going down because your costs have started increasing, and it becomes very stressful. So I guess that's where the change is going to come in. And in HVAC services, as I keep telling, is customer retention, repeat purchases, referrals. It's a profitable business if you get it right with technology. And I guess that's the only way to do it. Reduce your back-end costs, digitize the process, keep good people, but keep less number of people. That's the way to do it. So,
Great.
so that's about all on the service providers. But Manish, you and me keep debating so much about it. And before actually we wind up, we just have about 5 minutes. I want to hear from you because you've been leading this technology platform, and we built Pureblu together. And what's your take on this? Yeah, we've not just a great platform, but also IoT devices that we've built, and we put our COVID times to good use. Why don't
Yeah.
you share, from the ideal idea of an ideal service structure for good service? What are the technology innovations that's going to happen in years to come? From a tech perspective, what are the big innovations that could completely be a game changer when it comes to services?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say it's not fair to only give me 5 minutes to talk about all of that stuff. I mean, absolutely, that is criminal. No, not even, sorry, five. Now we're at around 3 minutes I have left. So, what I'm going to talk about very quickly at a high level is I'm going to give some of the real quick the technology, and then I'm going to give you a specific use case. So, a lot of the technology that people talk about, and I know these are terms we hear a lot, artificial intelligence, machine learning, but the reality is that is real. What ends up happening is when you start looking, it's very difficult for a human to look at a million pieces of data and then make some sort of assumption. And I don't care, even if you use Excel, it's sort of a pain. But with machine learning, it can take all that data, it can start processing it, it can give you valid information. So that is really the idea of, and we keep on talking about technology and aggregating data. What the term that people always say is data is the new oil.
That's right.
And it's very funny where Reliance, the largest oil refinery in the world, has now geo, and people are saying, they went from oil, which was the economic engine previously, to now data is the economic engine moving forward. So those are some of the technologies we're looking at, is artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, all of that. But I'll give you a very specific use case that I see happen a lot. As you either have a reactive situation with your air conditioning unit. So then you say, hey, something's wrong, please send a technician. Okay, fine, that's very reactive. Second is, preventative. And you can get a preventative call, a contract in place where it's, once a year the person comes, or, twice a year, or a quarterly, or a monthly, but these are all very, static. We don't know. The reason why we do that is because we don't know really the health of the machine till the technician actually gets there. But the idea moving forward is, we can actually monitor the air quality filter and, keep track of it. And then once we feel that the filter is dirty, then we can send someone and, clean it. But today it's all very, TK, just send them every 3 months. And then, and in fact, this recently happened is we didn't use our air conditioning unit for 3 months at home. And the technician came, he did it. And I said, how dirty was it? He was like, oh, it wasn't dirty at all. And I said, yeah, I know, but now what to do? But that's part of the issue. And that's how, it kind of maps back to what you said, Ajit, around being efficient with the workforce. If we all of a sudden are going to have 10x the number of air conditioning units in India, I mean, of course, it would be great from a labor standpoint to have 10x the number of people, but the reality is that's not an efficient use of people. So my guess is we may have 10x on the capex side of machines, but we may only have to go up 2-3x on the labor side. And this is the reason why it makes sense to use technology, because then you can make people more efficient. I mean, it's true. Some people, if they're sitting in the office and they're not doing anything, they tend to get bored, and that happens also in the field. So that is kind of what we're looking at with technology, and that is, sadly, you've only given me 3.5 minutes, and that's all I can tell you. So now we're gonna have to have a whole episode around technology, so I can sit there and talk. And I'm gonna give you 3 minutes to talk about services. How about that?
Done. That's what we're going to do. So
right.
we will build another episode around it, only talking about various kinds of technology. But I guess this precursor to understanding this was extremely important.
Yeah.
So awesome, yeah. So I think we've been able to lay out quite a few things out there. So we just have about a few seconds before we actually wind up. So thanks, Manish. I think it was great discussing and throwing and putting that content out there. So before we close, sales pitch will always come in. So if you are a service provider and you would like to be part of our platform, reach out to us on this number on the screen, and we'll give you a free demo. You can use the platform and see how you can join us and see how you can bring in the efficiency that you need to build a low cost but highly efficient services business. Having said that, we also have another number which is for smart AMCs. If you are a customer running large organizations, multi-city, multi-locational, reach out to us on this number or drop an email, and we will reach out to you and we will give you annual maintenance contracts, one stop, single stop for the entire country. And it's been tried and tested. 70% of your air conditioning of your energy bills comes from air conditioning, and a well-maintained air conditioner can bring down those costs. So that's about it that we have for today, and we come back to you next month with another
Yep.
interesting topic, hopefully around technology, like how Mani said, and we will get
Done.
back to you. So
Sounds
thank you
good.
so much for being with us today. So for people who are going to catch up on the show later, or people who are watching us live right now, um, write an email to us, like how you've been doing. Tell us what you would like to hear. Tell us about specific problems that you have in your company. We've got enough case studies. We've got international customers now using Pureblu. We've got Indian customers across the different cities of India who are using. We've got lots of content and lots of learnings, which we will be very happy to share with you. So if you have a specific problem, write to us, support@pureblue.in, and we'll happily bring it up in the next show with these case studies. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Manish, and thanks. See you again next month.
Take care. See everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you.